I am starting a new relationship with money today. Money is good, pure, useful, and necessary for my prosperity and growth, for my satisfaction and abundance.
You think the money won't change you. I know you think the woman won't faze you. You think the nightlife won't age you.
So you're straight from the way your mama raised you.
So much love that she gave, even if you would misbehave. But now you left your home and depart from your ways, and you're singing life favors a brave. You not deal with cowardice, and you not like to feel powerless, and you want to know where real power is. So you live a life at speed, power shift. Money in your pocket make you feel like a lord. Woman in your bed make you feel like a god. Killers on your team and they're down for the cause, ready to take a life for the boss. Everything have a cost. Price for the woman, the fame, the cars, the drugs, the Porsche, Ferrari Sport, switchblade doors, butterfly flew wings up, of course, like a falcon in full flight when it soars. Always a sight to see, I'm sure. Remember what goes up must come back to the floor. There's a reason for the darkness, reason for the light. Reason for the things I see when I close my eyes at night. Reason for the lies, reason for the pain. Reason though I'm free, I feel the need to keep my chains. See, I keep them all and I bought some more. Switch out the Galado for the Aventador. Lion heart, you should hear that roar. See my wings spread out when I press the door. See, I kept the chains but I found the keys. No locks on me, yes I am free. And you could be too, if you just be you. Cause see, there's truth in the lies, though they try to hide that the real power lies inside you and I. Infinite waters when we scuba dive, and we dive in deep, coming super high. Self-awareness for a smoother ride. I know that I am a cooler guy, so when the moon arise and the moon arise, grounded while we cruising through the sky. There's a reason for the darkness, reason for the light, reason for the things I see when I close my eyes at night. Reason for the lies, reason for the pain. Reason though I'm free, it's okay if I keep my chains.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to everyone tuned in on Zoom with us right now, as well as everyone who's tuned in on Facebook, the whole Silvernet family, all of our special invited guests, the whole community, everybody who trying to hold our reasoning and help us turn the tide of crime and violence in Tobago. My name is Xavier Edwards, also known as Zav. I'm an artist, I'm a businessman, and I am also the current Public Relations Officer of Tobago CivilNet, an organization that I am really, really proud and happy to be a part of. I've been a part of the organization from the inception in 2019, when it was really just a group of us who are concerned about the development of our island, not politically aligned, just really working to create a brighter future for the children, create a brighter future for ourselves right now, and to also honor our elders. And, with their knowledge and with their support and with their wisdom to help to just curate a Tobago that we all would be proud of and be happy to see. Tonight, we are here to launch the first of our 4-part series on turning the tide of crime and violence in Tobago, a public health approach. The series is going to feature 4 esteemed panelists, all coming from different walks of life, different areas of expertise, different types of experiences, and coming to share willingly and from their heart to help us create a better Tobago. and hopefully, share a little information, a little knowledge that will help us have a different perspective, and therefore, improve our chances at really turning that tide of what we're seeing happening on the island right now. The series is going to start off this evening with Quincy, Tennerz, Joseph, who I met maybe about a year and a little bit more ago. Right at Swallows, him and his family, holding a vibe, holding a reasoning, and he was a really standout character in my reality. So I'm very grateful for him to be here with us this evening. Quincy Joseph is a former or an ex-convicted felon who was remanded in the United States prison system, and since his release and his return to our country has really made a turnaround, and actually now is the founder of No Youth Left Behind, a youth development organization that really does a lot of outstanding work in the community, both in his home base of Labrie, as well as they have, a sector in Tobago as well, and in other boroughs in Trinidad where they really just go around and do a lot of work. So we're really grateful to be launching tonight with Quincy. And for our second week, which is going to be next week on the 19th, we are going to have the honorable, I say honorable, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I really respect the work he does, Dr. David Mohammed, who is going to be doing a conversation on how society has actually failed the youths. Dr. Mohammed is also the founder of the Black Agenda Project. For those of you who tap in on Facebook, on Instagram, you'll see him really doing a lot of positive work to uplift the communities and bring a greater level of consciousness to the youths, the elders, the community and the whole, just sharing all that he would have learned along his journey and taking the passion that he has for seeing people, especially those of African descent, increase in our consciousness and live in greater levels of love and understanding of how all this works and how we could improve our life chances and our quality of life on the whole. He will be with us on the 19th, and that will be hosted by Sheila. So we're also very grateful to have him on board for this project on turning the tide of crime and violence in Tobago. For the third week, which is going to be on the November 26th, it is going to be Camille Swap, who is a clinical psychologist, and I'm actually very excited about her conversation because it's going to be on joyful learning and how that could alleviate the issue of our failing students, and just overall how through learning and from a place that is not the traditional strict stringent methodology, but something that actually brings you joy, could lead to a more wholesome and better developed child, and therefore a better society. Because at the end of the day, we are who make up the communities, we are who make up the society. So I'm also very excited to have that conversation with Camille Swap. And to bring our series to a close, at least this iteration of it, we are going to have Dr. Ulrich Johnson, who is going to be our feature speaker, and he's going to be speaking about the public health approach on crime. When we initially started the conversations about having this forum, this seminar on turning the tide of crime and violence in Tobago, a public health approach, it was supposed to be a physical we're supposed to have a physical gathering where all the speakers would come. We get to interact with everyone and just have as a holistic whole day experience with both the presentations as well as the questions, as well as some workshops and some breakout groups. Though we were not able to execute it at that level, we thought it important as an organization, thankfully with the support of Eastern Credit Union, to be able to still have these conversations, to still have these discussions, and hold these meetings with the community about how we can turn the tide of crime and violence in Tobago in this form. So I'm very grateful for all of you who have given up your time, the presenters. I'm very grateful for Eastern Credit Union for giving us their support. I'm thankful for the hosts who will be hosting all our sessions. And most of all, really grateful for each of you for coming out to be here with us, to have this conversation, to take up your time in the audience, everyone tuned in both in our Zoom room right now, as well as everyone on Facebook, because this conversation is important. And if we don't know, if we don't understand some of the challenges that we face, then it's sometimes challenging to figure out how to turn the tide of what we see. So with that note, I would like to introduce you all to our esteemed host for this evening, a young man who I am very grateful and privileged to know, and I am very happy that he's offered up his time to be able to have this conversation with us this evening. And I'm so happy to bring the pair of both our esteemed host, Cassell Campbell, and our panelist for today, Tennerz Quincy Joseph. So with that, I bid you.
Thanks for the intro X, especially calling me a young man, considering your age is right there. My name is Cassell Campbell. I'm a member of the Rites of Passage Boys to Men program. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be the interviewer in Tobago CivilNet today. I am also along the same goal of changing the narrative that has been plaguing Tobago as it relates to crime. And we have a really great guest today. Now, Mr. Quincy Joseph is the founder and executive director of No Youth Left Behind. It's an NGO founded in 2012, and after his release from prison in 2008, Mr. Joseph's journey is illuminated with national service and first began with a vision while serving a substantive sentence as a convicted felon in the US federal penal system. His role in the organization sustains his ongoing rehabilitation and transformation. He has a unique way of bringing a tailored version of what the executives and everybody is trying to change the narrative of Tobago, and especially the young boys, and tailoring it to what he knows from his past and what he knows of the current day. So Mr. Joseph has also been recognized for a lot of awards. He's been shortlisted for a National Youth Ally Award for the National Youth Awards, 14 Youth Developer of the Year, Outstanding Performance for the Year, awarded by Presentation College. Honored for a committed service and development in youth in the Southwestern area. And he is an esteemed member, and I know he loves to talk about this, an esteemed member of the community of Labrie, where he's actually involved in most of his stuff as it relates to No Youth Left Behind. So I want to welcome to the panel right now, Mr. Quincy Joseph. I feel like
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Shout out to everybody in Tobago, to the brethren. I hope you're tuning in. I would have sent a word to the ground. Because this is for the ground. I would have sent a word to the guys them down Storby, Buku, Plymouth. The places where I trod, where I'm at when I'm in Tobago, and I sit with them on our level, not their level, our level, and reason. So thank you for having me. Big up to the library all the time.
It's always good to have pride for your village, boy.
Come on, if you're not proud of it, who else can be?
That's exactly what we're talking about. So Quincy, I've met you myself. I'm glad to be interviewing you today to get a more personal understanding of who you are. And you have it. I would say you have it so far, but I want people on the inside to also know you have it. So one of the things we really want to ask is more one of the tougher questions, like what led you to engage in criminal activity and how did you perceive the risks versus the rewards at that time?
Circumstances, misconceptions, false ideologies, and limited experience and skill to maneuver the hardships and the challenges of life. I went to the US at a young age, around 17, 18, 19, around that age. And again, circumstances, would have confronted me, and based on my constitution, and tonight I want to talk about the word constitution, based on my constitution, because crime is a personal decision. Crime is a choice. Crime is based on your ability to withstand oppression. And when I say oppression could be temptation from the friends, from the block. It could be your circumstances. It could be your granny sick and she died in front of your eyes and nobody knows, and you just decide to go out there, and finally the gang leader finally get to you because of the circumstance. So you see, for me, crime, I decided to go this route because of my limited resources as far as skill set in mentally and emotionally being able to face the challenges, some of them new. And sometimes it's not that you cannot ask for help, but because of your wrong concept of manhood, because you think that manhood is a tough guy, we don't cry. We don't want nobody know what we're going through. So you look for a way to figure it out, because you think that's what a man does. He figure it out at all costs. And not surrounding myself with the proper guidance. So for me, again, it was based on circumstances. But I think for each person that does crime is based on that individual's constitution. I would like us to go into the first recorded murder. And if I tell you the first recorded murder, let me ask you, what do you think I'm told? The first recorded murder is where?
Are you speaking of biblical times?
Well, I speaking of foundation. And to me, the spiritual aspect of life, I don't just want to use the Bible, but the spirituality of life, which is missing from society, which is something, again, probably later on we will get to. But for me, the first murder, there wasn't the temptation of the internet. There wasn't the need to buy Jordans to impress Susie, and there wasn't the need for bling. There wasn't a boat ride coming up, and I had to get this at all costs. It was Cain that slew Abel. And if you look at that for a second, I ask myself, because again, I look at things differently. You said I have it, and I thank you for that. And what I know that I have is that anointing from the Creator. I don't know how, with little, sometimes to no resources, just about everything I touch, and by my extension, the team touches, it turns to gold. And I give God the glory for that. But going back to Cain and Abel, the circumstances that, a lot of times we use in today's intellectual, where it's about the right narrative and the intellectual property and that approach a lot of times, which doesn't really get to the source of the problem. There was none of that influence in Cain to slew Abel. So what was it? And if we could understand that, we will solve half of the issues that we face.
Never thought about it that way.
Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Cain slew Abel, right?
Yes.
You think that was the first time they got into it?
Nah.
We wasn't there, but these are brothers.
Yeah. I wouldn't think that's the first time they got into it at all.
So there was a process, right?
Mm-hmm.
maybe since they were boys, they probably always had a competitive jealousy kind of spirit, right? And those two words are a lot of the reasons for crime. Competitiveness and jealousy, and competitive and jealousy go hand in hand. If you would look in a lot of societies that we focus on capitalism, that we focus on brands, that we focus on status, that we focus on my gate have to be shinier than my neighbor gate. In a lot of these societies, we have a lot of high crime rates.
So what are you saying is that in order to solve part of the problem, we should find a way to hone the competitiveness of people today? Because I do believe that we have an innate competitiveness that we always like to show. So you see that when we hone that by presenting probably football clubs or police youth clubs, they are exactly what we need to curb the direction that we're heading in right now?
No. Competitiveness is good. Because for me, again, with growth, you know, I might look at somebody pass with a car and it might inspire me to go get one. Somebody else might become jealous. So I'm not talking about the external. What I'm saying in a nutshell, and as we go forward, I could expound, but this thing is so simple. There's a word that says, do not remove the old landmark. That old landmark was like a check valve. In other words, in the days gone by, we had more supervision and less temptation. Today we have more temptation and less supervision. What I'm getting at is the spirituality, the spiritual fabric of society is no more. Let me give you an example. The song, and I believe that song was by Zavi, good song, great song. And then the song tells you everything. There's a reason for the pain. There's a reason. And in today's society, the narrative that we're giving, we are giving people unrealistic expectations, which brings unrealistic pressures, and then people do some unreal things. So to solve this in layman, just basic terms, and it's not as simple as I make it sound, but it's not as complicated as it may seem either. Spirituality, a moral consciousness, mental well-being. You see, all the programs that we may look to do, if it is lacking these aspects, if it's just the optics, you know, you just care about the show and about the bright lights, the cameras on, action, come take a picture, and then after that, there's nothing. There's no soul, there's no spirit in it. Then it would only have, you would get exactly what you're looking for. You're looking like you're doing something. But then when you look out into society, where's the results? All the programs, where are the results? All the degree holders who study psychology and childcare and this and that, where are the results? And I'm not saying that these things are not needed, and I'm not criticizing, and I want to make it clear tonight before I go further, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. I am not coming to attack anyone, but I come to speak the truth as I see it from my experience based on my knowledge. And nobody cannot tell me I'm not a specialist, because I may not have gone to Harvard, I may not have gone to the school of UE, but I've gone to the school of the different federal penal institutions. I am speaking from both sides of the coin. I have rubbed shoulders with the misfits, and I rub shoulders with gentlemen like yourself. Right? So the problem for me, and I can tell you what works for me. You know, right now, and we come to speak the truth, right now, as I speak here tonight, I am dealing with some personal challenges in my life, some personal challenges, some of them seeming borderline demonic, some attacks that make me feel like Job. But that landmark, I have found that landmark, that spiritual connection, that source of something greater than myself. Because when you're hungry, when you're starving, it has to have morals. Think about that. I'm not saying it's an excuse,
Yeah. But I hear you mention rubbing shoulders with somebody misfits.
Mhm.
You know, growing up, there was this concept that when you see somebody, I said, but he make a jail and you had to respect he. But half of us don't know what the jail system is like. Could you describe what life in prison was like? You know, some people just think it's one is this boot camp, and you know, in a space where if you cry, you look weak. Could you describe what that was like for you?
But I mean, my celly crying in the cell together already. You understand? When it really hit me, the reality of the position that I'm in. I remember as a child, I'm gonna get to the question, but I'm gonna answer it as the juvenile going into the prison thinking I'm a man. And then realizing I ain't so manly, I ain't so tough. Right? Prison is something that you cannot really describe to somebody who has never experienced. You cannot really, I could tell you go in a room and lock yourself in and try to get that feeling, but in your subconscious mind, you know if you really want, you can walk out of here. So it wouldn't give you the same, you know, understanding. But it's like being buried alive. I think that's the best description I could give you, where you've seen everything that's going on. For instance, I'm locked up. I know Christmas coming in Trinidad. I know Carnival coming, because I'm locked up in the United States. There's Thanksgiving in the US. My wife at the time, because we were still married, we stayed married for a little while. She is doing her thing. I'm watching everybody because I have the time. But they don't really have the time to study me day in, day out. Like I have the time to monitor them, to clock them, to study what's going on out there. So you have to reach that point where you take your focus off of outside and put it inside. Now that's dangerous. Now it depends on the time that you have, because remember, you want to put freedom on your mind so that your body could follow. You know, you want to kind of will it. You don't want to lose what they call hope. And a lot of youth in today's society are in jail in the world because they have lost hope. They are a prisoner to hopelessness, right? But going back to my incarceration, I think the best description I could give is being buried alive. Just imagine the last funeral you went to, and they put down the casket, and then they just put a glass covering over it, and the person could see everything that's going on. You passing, you going back and forth, but you're knocking on the glass and nobody's looking down at you. You're looking up at everybody because everybody's passing by doing their own thing. You're locked up. You are a burden to your family when you're locked up, and I want to use them to know that it's a burden to your family when you're locked up. And I ain't talking about the disgrace, it's a burden. When you're locked up, if your family love you, they're locked up with you too. So buried alive, my brother. I think that's the best description.
Yeah. Never thought about it that way. Very interesting concept. Considering being buried alive and looking from the outside. Definitely never thought it that way. But you seem to have gone through it. What we describe going through it.
God brought me to it, brother.
Yeah.
You see, prayer and hope.
And you use that term where you say your freedom was locked up. I'm probably misquoting, but
well, I think I said there's a lot of I don't know if you speak when I say there's a lot of youth outside that are free, but they're locked up. Because remember, everything starts with the mind. You know, we have a lot of sayings, as a man thinketh, so is he. And these things are true. Your opinion of yourself is what you start your day with. And then based on your opinion of yourself, you could allow people to penetrate or not penetrate. If you have a high value opinion of yourself, you can resist the negativity and the influence. A lot of times we take the influence because people make us feel unsure about ourselves and where we stand and convince us that going this way is better. A lot of boys and girls now end up in gang and activities like that, partly for that reason.
So, what was the pivotal movement, though? That movement that made you realize, you know, this life of crime is not worth it.
Again, a change in mindset. I started to read. There was, and I'm gonna tell you a little a story. There was a Jamaican in my unit. Now I was given real trouble because I was blaming everybody. And I want to tell the youth and the adults, you would not fix your situation until you start taking responsibility for your situation. You have to start taking accountability and responsibility for your situation. I'm speaking to the one who on the verge, hopefully somebody get this video to listen to this, and you are thinking you have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You have to take responsibility for your situation. And for me, my changing point is the Jamaican. I was going to the hole a lot, getting a few stabbings back and forth because I was like, this is it. I'm locked up. I'm mad at the world. I'm in America blaming the white man. I don't know nothing about white man racism. I now come to America, I blaming the white man for my situation because you wanna scapegoat, you know? And he gave me a book to read, Jamaica, and he called me when I came out the hole. He said, well, I'm watching here, something about you, like, yeah, thing, but you keep getting yourself caught up, and you're not gonna last long in here. I didn't want to hear him. I thought he was scared. I thought he come to jail and he gets soft. So he gave me a book to read called The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. I believe that's the author. And I would encourage everybody, under the sound of my voice, to make a note of that. The Miseducation of the Negro. If it sounds familiar, it's because of Lauryn Hill CD, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Right? And he gave me the book to read. I didn't read it. I went in the hole again, came back, asked him about the book, and he kept on my case. He didn't give up on me. He didn't throw me under the bus. He didn't, because I do something stupid, because he see me stab somebody and go in the hole for 6 weeks or 2 months and come back out. He didn't write me off. A lot of times we write off the youths. We go to church and we hear it say, when I'm a child, I act as a child, I think as a child. But then we write them off for being childish. Right? So, I dare say, you know what? I'm going to read this book because this man starting to fret my boy. Because what happened to, he used to give me a little, he used to bake. So I didn't want to really lock him off because I gave him a little dessert and thing from him. You see, the youth, them want things, and we'll get to that. They want things. You have to give people things. Because life requires things. When you go in the grocery, what you have to spend, brother? Things. Money, right? Like Zavi said in the song. Right? So because of that, I didn't really want to lock him off per se. Right? And he asked me about the book. And I couldn't answer. So I said, I'm going to read this book. Just to get him off of me. Because he threatened me now. He threatened me with goodness for my well-being. And brother, when I cracked that book, and I started to read that book, it made me start to consider some things. It didn't happen overnight. But it gave me now an occasion that when he asked me, I could answer. And then once I answered, his interest now heightened. And now we had something to talk about other than where to hide my shank. And don't forget to send my bowl for me as the cell pump. And that is what I apply today in society. I have been through circumstances with youths. I had a youth recently in a situation that could have ended my life. And because I remembered how that Jamaican dealt with me, it would have allowed me not to choose a criminal response. You understand? The mindset was changed. The spiritual level was changed. So now I had the skill set. I had something to get me through this oppressive moment in my life. Now, we would see people go and do crime. And we would say, yes, the act is wrong. But I would caution to just say that person was wrong without understanding their constitution. Just like with countries. Even the most peaceful country has an army, right? A military base, because that is the reality of life. And that country's constitution may differ from Trinidad and Tobago. Sweden might go to war for something that thing go bother we. Correct? So we have to, even let's bring it back to our household. What go on in your mother's house might go on in your friend's house next door. That neighbor might find your mother wrong for letting you stay out after 10. Because person have to come in after 8. According to their constitution, both of them correct. Right now, there are some absolute truths, and there's no disputing that. But you see, we have to revamp and rethink and reapproach this crime. I'm going to use that word, but I don't want to use that word yet, although it appears to be like that daily. But this crime problem, serious problem. You know, and again, this is a public health approach, so I guess I could use the word, what's the word, epidemic? I didn't want to use it, but hey, right?
So, Quincy, could I call you Tennerz, because I read everybody calling you Tennerz, and this is a...
Tennerz, no, man. Just don't call me for stand-up count.
You know, you speak about your Jamaican parlor in the prison system that basically I would describe, he give you a rite of passage where he see you going on a road and then he curb your path. So my question to you is, if you could design a perfect world where now all men listen to you, how do you think we as men should do right by giving out different rites of passage? And I say this to say, all the gangs have their own rites of passage. You do something, you're 15. Commit this crime, you're 15. You pull this trigger, you're 15. What kind of design of rite of passage would you develop? Keeping in mind that today, most men are also busy being men themselves. But we have that rite of passage, or, you know, where you say that with a spiritual marker or something that he wasn't supposed to move, because we are also busy being our own men. What design do you think we should adapt to recreate rite of passage so we could curb the path of young men becoming criminals?
I think us men first need to start with the true understanding of what is manhood. Because we cannot teach manhood if we are not men ourselves. And I would have learned from real men. You know, some of you may disagree when I say these are real men, but these are real men. That there's a difference. And a lot of us have the wrong concept of manliness and maleness. So the first thing I think needs to be done is that we have to have more, I don't want to use the word programs, right? Because just the word program alone, right? But so I don't want to use the word programs, but the culture of society. Sorry.
I was actually going to say that because I believe in the programs. However, I'm talking about the people you go online by the beach, people you go online after a good football sweat. I believe the culture is what changed that now allows this criminal culture to be active, because groups always existed, tribes always existed. What culture you think we should readapt or bring back? You know, because for me,
we should bring back spirituality in the culture. You see, I could talk to you on the beach, and I could get some real good words. Zavi, know, I spoke with Zavi on the beach. That's how we kind of really linked. We had a real conversation, and I was, you know, right now Zavi feel like he's a Obia man, because everything that I told him about Tobago when he was doubting, that's why we're here today. And I have been going around speaking to youths. I don't need a platform officially. I will pull up on the block. I will pull up a pizza boys. I will pull up anywhere where youth congregating. And God has given me that where they gravitate to me, I gravitate to them, and I get them to listen. But when they leave me, what happens? The society, the culture erodes it, because the reinforcement is not there. You see, it's not just people, it's the collectiveness of people in sync with our objective to have the place in one way that, okay, so if the youth goes here, if he goes there, if he goes there, he encounters this cultural focus. Not a man who giving him good words, but then every other man he meets, there's no reinforcement. Remember, we live in the information age. Just like, let's look like how do you scroll TikTok? You have so much options now, you know, you just scroll. And it's the same thing with youth and information. So it's more than just talk. You see, we feel we could talk our youth into being good, or we could talk the society into fixing itself. There are certain systematic things, there are certain things that were removed from society. The men in society were not men because they were mum about it, because they have to protect their mortgage, they have to feed their families, they have to do these things. But you're not seeing the future. You're not seeing that you would feed your son today to have to suffer the same suffering you suffer to feed him, and maybe worse. So it's like you're abandoning what is needed for a temporary, immediate fix, because you don't have the belly, as we say, or the manhood to tough it through and to stand up and to risk it. You see how the criminals ready to risk it for that bag? The good men are ready to risk it, because that risk, they could lose their work. They could say the wrong thing and offend a politician. Let's be real. So unless you have men speaking up and women playing their role, and I will get to the women. I know there was a little controversy, a little bad feeling about a comment Mr. Farley would have made, if I remember correctly, about mothers, correct? And you know, to address that, I think that women are not the cause, but they have a vital role in the solution. They are the life givers, they are the nurturers, they are the healers. They are the backbone of any society. And there might be children on this program, but I'm going to speak it plain in a scientific way. If instead of being on this wonderful program tonight, I had my phone on Pornhub, and I think we all know what Pornhub is. Let's not be pretentious, because that's one of the problems in society. We like to pretend to be Puritans more than we really are, right? And I was to pleasure myself and ejaculate on a countertop. Nothing happens. But let that same ejaculation go into a woman. Something miraculously happens. So it shows the value that a man by himself is nothing, but with a woman, he can change a circumstance. So the women have a vital role to play. And I will go as far to say that a lot of the young boys you see running amok today, and women, please do not come for me, but a lot of women, especially our women, are enablers unknowingly. And what I mean by that, it starts very young. I'm not saying that they encourage gang life or criminal life or send their sons out there to do crime. Right? So you have the father in the home, or you don't have the father in the home. And sometimes that doesn't make a difference, and I will tell you why. I notice it here. I'm in a barber shop right now, big up Starro Cuts. And I would see where men, and I've spoken to a lot of barbers when I notice that, and other people that you could tell, right? When a man brings his son for a haircut, he tells his son XYZ. But when a boy comes here with his mother, he knows that with the right song and dance, she may give in. And I don't know if there's any barbers listening or any mothers who have this similar experience where you may see it as harmless. All right, you wanted him to cut off the hair, but he said he didn't want it thing, and you just give him this time. You tell the barber, all right, boy, okay, boy, all right, okay. All right, just take a little bit of the top and give him what you want there, and then just stop bothering me. You have set in motion a subconscious understanding with the right tactics. I could get my way even if it's against the law. Now, I'm not saying that in a sense is enough to create a criminal, you know. What I'm saying, everybody has an ingredient to the solution.
Everybody has an ingredient to the solution. Use some good ones there, Tennerz.
know what I mean? Come on, I'm a boy myself.
Yeah.
And there were certain things you would have a father in the home.
Mhm.
And depending on what it is, the mother would still give and again, mother to sons, you would find that plenty, and fathers to daughters. Fathers do it with daughters too. Don't tell your mother, don't tell your mother. Don't tell your father, don't tell your father. All right, go ahead, but don't say nothing, right? Can I ask you, do you know of those happenings personally in your family, in your life?
Yeah. I mean, it still happening to this day and age, where daddy says no, and then he runs to mommy, and I don't tell daddy, yeah, just go in the corner and relax yourself. But are you saying that this is also what happens in society, that they pacify correction sometimes?
Depending on who is to be corrected.
Mm.
Now, our society, and again, let's talk about the society for a minute. Our society has never really fought for anything. Now, Trinidad and Tobago is a beautiful place. I used to look at it in terms of good and bad, but I just accepted that in the jungle of nations, this is our characteristics, right? And that came from another lesson. Again, I was giving trouble. And the same fella, he took me up, and he was showing me, he said, look at all the convicts down there. And every convict there represents a characteristic that you can align an animal with. That is the lion, that is the hyena, the troublemaker, whatnot. Our society is no different. Our society has different creatures that has different respects in the jungle of the society. And sometimes, you know, in Trinidad and Tobago, because of our history, of our makeup, of how we came to independence, of how we function, we are the spoiled children of the Caribbean. And spoiled children can't really handle too much pressure. Right? And that, in a sense, in our DNA, is part of why some things go unchallenged and why men in our society, I would say, somewhat lack the backbone to risk losing their job to secure a proper infrastructure for their children's future. Here the word I use again, a proper infrastructure. Right? There's a difference between hustling and doing entrepreneurship, right? And right now we are hustling. I mean, we have businesses and whatnot, but the makeup, how we approach things, how if we are vocal on issues, our society set away, it seems automatically, you're bashing the PNM, you're bashing the UNC, you're bashing this one, you're bashing the minister. No. We speaking up for something that we think could be done better. And in today's society, everything is so politicized. And that is rooted in our culture. I just say off record, and I'm going to say tonight, I think Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm not dissing my place, this is who we are. I'm not saying that we are weak, I'm not saying anything like that, but in the nation of nations, sweet, sweet TNT. Remember that song? A smart man gone with the money in the treasury or something like that? Sweet, sweet TNT. Then MX Prime came years later and said, we jamming still. Let's look at truth. Tonight, Tobago, let's look at our society too. I will say it for it. Let's look at our society and the ones that have the say in our society. We are not of that type of people. We are passive-aggressive people. We are passive-aggressive people. And we're being truthful, right?
Yeah, right, true.
And I'm not speaking political, right? But I'm speaking observation. There was an individual that came on national television some years ago and a couple years ago and spoke about the gas prices and whatnot, and they were asked if they're going to raise gas. And this individual, respectfully, would have said, and I'm trying to, not, but anyway, this individual would have spoken about, when asked about raising gas. They ain't riot yet. So we might as well do it again. Now, this is what I looked at. This is a nation of killers, aren't we? We are a nation where murder is boop, boop, bap, boop, bap, boop, bap. And you're not worried about saying that on national TV, it's a nation of killers. That tells me that they understand the fabric. That even with all this killing, I need to go further?
No, you need to go further.
All right. So when you look at that, and you understand the fabric of our society, and again, I'm not putting it on a scale of good or bad. I'm accepting this is my country, this is my land, I love it. And within it now, I have to try to make the imprints and effect the change that God has anointed me and blessed me with and empowered me to do. And that needs to change because we have youths having the wrong concept of manhood, as I had the wrong concept of manhood. I thought a man was somebody who had a real woman. People respect him. He have money. He have cars. Even when you watch TV programs. What's your age, brother? I see your beard blacker than mine, so I asked him, what's your age?
I'm 30 years of age.
Blessed 30. I came home when I was 32, right?
But as I mentioned, you coming out at 32, right?
Uh-huh.
The question that's been on my mind, right? So, as we relate to rites of passage, do you think society is doing enough for inmates that come out and have to become, again, part of that fabric of society? Or you think society is also doing enough to change the narrative that is basically having an umbrella over them? That, well, he went in as a murderer, he's always a murderer. I think there are a lot of youths that come out with the concept that they want to change, but if they are only seen as a murderer, they might as well stay as a murderer. What do you think society could do to help guide their rite of passage or guide their path into becoming a part of a society that is also good?
Well, remember, society is made up of individuals, not just the ones that get caught, right? Right? Understand me, right? So when the ones that got caught came home to deal with those that haven't got caught yet, but has the mindset, they may not have the belly to go as far as he went. It's very hard because you're coming home where everybody for self. We live in a society right now where everybody is for self, where we are, we have always, again, we have to be real and you have to look at the playing field as it is. And you see the romanticizing of things keeps us moving on a treadmill where we're making motion but no progress. And right now that is where we are. We are making a lot of motion, but we are on a treadmill. We are not going anywhere. So to answer that question, again, society, I don't think society really is doing enough. You have to really want it. And that's why it goes back to being an individual, the individual. Because if you look for it from society, you may be disappointed, you may be exploited. People are looking for it for self. People looking for living. People want to post on Instagram. People want to build up their gate. We are in an individual, selfish, capitalist environment. So, with that being said, if I am focused not on humanity, here where I'm going. If I'm not focused on humanity and I'm focused on status, because I live in a society where I'm respected only if I have money, only if I'm living in a certain area, only if I have a certain job title, then I can study. He come out of jail, he for me have to study. The person conducting the program might even be studying it for real. The person doing the program because that's how they go eat their food, because they have to pay for the bends. So it goes back again. You could go high, you could go low. God is simple but complex. Humanity needs to meet humanity. And we need to get back into the schools. I'm not just going to say prayer back in schools, but look at that. You take out certain check valves. And what do you act like you're surprised? If we were to go and talk about prayer in school, right? And the education, not just the system, but the education, because again, in life they still you get education, right? So in a lot of the ministries that we have, Ministry of Sport, Ministry of Youth, Ministry of this, the Ministry of Education, and this is not a direct examination of the current administration or the current minister. I'm speaking in general of the role and function in any society. The Ministry of Education, to me, is supposed to be one of the most important ministries because that is dealing with education. That's why in some countries, teachers are paid like probably the highest, right? Teachers are paid well. Now,
Tennerz, as you're on the education there. So do you think that if we had a greater involvement from churches and the education system, that there can be a major change?
Whether you go on to the churches here, no, and the churches, no disrespect. Let me hear me.
Just let you know what the question
bad fruit, and I say this with a grain of salt. Bad fruit can't help bad fruit. And I'm not saying that the churches is bad fruit. What I'm saying is when you look out into the churches, they are not as the churches of before. When you look out into the schools, they are not as the churches before. The schools before, even with the churches, it seemed like money and pressure. In other words, the church even is losing its salt. If I were to go to biblical times, not what I believe, but what the church is supposed to stand for, even when it comes to same-sex and these things, and I'm going to speak the things because it doesn't make sense I come here and copy and paste like the next man playing it safe, who I'm speaking about. Even when you look out at the compromises, ask, okay, what is causing the churches to make compromise in a time where they're supposed to be getting more salty? Because as the pot get diluted, they're supposed to add salt, not copy and paste. And I'm not speaking to all the churches. I'm speaking to what a lot of us see, even church members who see other churches compromising the word of God. So are you in a position to help somebody when you're really compromising principles and these things? When you have some bobo on you too and your fruit start to rotten, you're gonna rotten the next fruit. So to put it on just institutions, it is not totally wrong, but it's not totally the solution. Again, everybody have a piece of ingredient, right? Long time in school, the school teacher, I could talk to about Miss Cross and Miss Thomas. I don't know if any of them happen to be on the live. They were like my mom. Teachers long time was like your parents too. They say take a village to raise a child. And that is absolutely true. But the village have to be able to raise the child. And today's village, where people say the village mash up, no, the village and mash up, the village just move to social media. So the village that is raising your child is the social media village. And you see, because of the arrogance of a lot of these people in position, they don't leave room for people like myself and others like yourself and Zavi doing the work on the ground to have a real voice. So let's start to talk about the real things that will change, because these are the people that influence the church decisions too, and the school decisions too. And what the church could stand for and what the school could stand for and whatnot, right? Because the churches and the schools are still bound by the law of the land. So if you want to really talk seriously tonight about changing stuff, let's go to the father of the land, which is the government. Hence the word govern. Just like in a household, the father is and the mother is the government. When you see children misbehaving bad, what do they say? Them parents, them real slackens. So when you see society misbehaving bad, why are we not saying the same thing? Why we try to find all type of justifications why it's not? Now, I'm not saying again everything is the government fault. No. I'm not saying the minister is supposed to come and stand up on the corner. No. But consequences. If something is not working, you are the one that are there. You are the one that declared and presented yourself as more experienced, more capable, more educated, more mentally sound to get the job done. You know it was a tough job. You went for it. Get the job done. And we have to get a society that requires our leaders to get the job done. Forget who we like, forget who we don't like, get the job done. If it's not happening, find somebody who, we have 1.4 million people just about. We have all these applications, 6 months, don't stay in an abusive relationship, leave. And that's the way to tell people, leave. Don't let shame and pride keep you there, leave. And until the people on the ground start to hold their even on the ground level, let's say your councillor, let's say your MP, nobody's talking about kick water and nobody talking about being disrespectful. Educate yourself. We're voting for in politics and we don't understand the policies that we're voting for a party and we haven't educated ourselves on what policies they can bring to deal with our children 20 years from now. So you see how important education, and not just education, knowledge is. And until the drivers, the ones with the steering wheel, understand that the passengers in the vehicle have a right to criticize your driving, because if you crash this car, I could die. Look at the Middle East. Look at all the civilians being bombed and killed because of decisions made by their drivers. So if you really want to talk about what is the solution, we have to really focus on the drivers. That's why they are there. They are the, and I'm not speaking about the current regime. I'm speaking about anybody, even if the party wasn't called PNM and UNC and NJAC and whatever the party was. You are the governed. Like when they say in the hood, when you go in the big town and you go down Plymouth and they tell you the boss govern. Ain't he govern? Ain't he govern?
Governs.
And you know why he govern? Because there's consequences. It could be he right-hand man violate the bossy skull. We need the government to bust some skulls. And I don't mean it literally in that regard, but understand what I mean. Consequences. Put people before, finish it from now, put people before
policy.
Party. Yeah, same thing. Because without people, what you need policy for? Without people, who you're governing? So again, I mentioned earlier that I personally am going through some things in my life personally with the same NYLB, and I could tell you, the country right now is at a state where I don't want to say we're breeding criminals, but we're not doing enough to decrease the circumstances. Now, we used to say that we are a product of our environment. And there's been a slow attempt to change that narrative, because then that means you could put blame on the people responsible for the environment. Now, this is not about blame. Again, crime is like a flame. You have and that flame represents mankind. Even the good books say that we are shaped in iniquity and born in sin. I lost you there, so I don't know if you lost me too.
But Tennerz, you mentioned social media and how it has a greater impact than the church and the education system. So what I do realize is we are now in the age where we are cyber citizens. And I say cyber citizens because we rely on the internet to get most of our information. Something is happening across you, we rely on the internet. Now, as you are here, and we are indeed cyber citizens, and through Tobago Civil Net here, we are accessing social media. What advice can you give to the listeners to encourage the same entrepreneurs who have not been taking risks to put their own salt into the solution? Because it's been diluted, and that's how we get the criminals based on what you say. What advice could you give to the listeners to use social media for the benefit of helping society steer themselves away from crime?
Don't be afraid to lose what you have now for your children's sake. Remember, I don't know what their issues are. I don't know how articulate they may be, but you need a DNA. You need a modum operandi. I believe that's what they call it. And that standard operating procedure should be. Because a lot of times we know what we need to do, but we are afraid to do it. So I'll also say to them that God did not give us the spirit of fear. And a lot of times when it is fear that is stopping you, it means that you are onward to doing the right thing. So in a general nutshell, somebody may be sitting in their house tonight knowing something is happening, that if it was not happening, it could bring more jobs to the community where youth could get more work. It may be somebody doing something corrupt that, you know, corruption is a big problem too, because somebody had to pay for the corruption, you know. The money that goes where it was supposed to reach and didn't come, somebody will feel it. And most times it's the man on the ground. So whatever it is, the 1.4 million people, however much people in the country today, because we have more than that because we have, you know, the citizens from next door now. Right? Fear. Do not let fear stop you. Now, there's a thin line between fear and wisdom. But a lot of times people hide their cowardness and claim it's wisdom. Every society has gone forward by men who were willing to lose what they had at that point in time. Malcolm X was willing to lose his life. Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King. I could go far as back as on the slavery plantation, and I don't know if you have ever heard of Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman. And if we were to look at those two individuals who were free and came back to free more, instead of us today, you and I, brother, we make it and we move out the hood and we never look back. We used to be on the block and we get a job and we mother tell we don't line there because you can lose your work, which is true, you know. But you as a man, you know you had to go back and give them a little hope and a little bit of something, because even the Bible, you and your mother going and read in church Sunday, tells you that nobody takes a lamb and put it on a basket. They put it on a hill for all to see. Right? I keep plenty of my criminal friends. I have a lot of criminal friends. How would I influence them if I don't interact with them? How would they be able to come and say, maybe one day they'll see me and be sick and tired and they could come and say, boy, Tennerz ready to come into your thing, but I already have fed up. We have to go back for the slaves. We have to go back for them. And we don't live in a society where we consider going back. Once we make it, forget everybody else. So it's not just about the church doing something. It's not just about the programs, the institutions. The people have to start to demand. The single mother had to pick up herself and go down by the MP office and say, I see a contract, go give out there, and me see nobody from my neighborhood there. Because people want money. Let's be real. And crime pays. Crime does pay. And we have a lot of false narratives that we're giving, and what my mother might have taken, my daughter not taken, and my granddaughter not taken. Right? Crime pays. But you see the tax for crime? And you can't tell me crime don't pay because how the drug dealer buy the Benz? Look, you take 4 trips for the year and your mother and father working hard and she can't even send you to the school outing. You feel the youth man are watching that? So a lot of things in society could shift and bring a relief, pay people proper salaries for work. When you have society increasing in the grocery, but the wage is not increasing, let us be real and practical. Now, I don't know how to get everything done because I am not qualified in the Ministry of Finance and what, but I know what needs to be done. I may not know the formula. Pay people properly. People want, not because I poor and living in a shanty town, don't mean I don't have the desire for nice things. It don't mean I should go and thief it. But a lot of times we think that because people poor, they shouldn't want nice things or know about nice things. Just stay poor, stay in your lane, stay in your corner. That poor man, especially in today's society, where young people now, and here was the problem. And that's why I say the intellectuals have to work together with the grassroots. Because a lot of times they are missing the pulse. They are not hip. They are not aware of the changes because they are not connected. And that is the reality. That is not a diss. You would tell a politician or somebody senior they are not connected, they would take it as a diss. You can never be connected, just like I could never know what is to wake up in the morning and not have to worry about what I will eat today. I can relate to that. I can relate to my first car seat is in a Benz. I cannot relate to that. There are some people that, and it's not bad for me. It don't make me less of a human for not being able to relate to that lack of struggle. And it doesn't make you less human if you cannot relate to my struggle. But we have to find a way together to aspire so that together we could achieve. And a lot of the people up top, when they talk to the youths, even maybe your grandmother, my grandmother, they are not aware of the mental shift that these youths walk the road with every day. Now you have a youth man, you're telling him about delayed gratification. That worked for us. You tell them wait until they get married to have sex and don't study brands right now, that ain't running away. When you look out into society, it seems to be running away for them. And you know why? Because Johnny was in school today, and next to him was Patrick. And when Johnny went home, he's 14, Patrick is 14, they're in Form 2. Johnny turned on TikTok and he saw a video with a man running a place and Patrick gets shot. When he go to school tomorrow, that seat there that is empty is going to be on his mind all day. You still want to tell him about way to get big? You think he's listening to that? Long time death was for old people and sick. That is not true today. So we need people who understand the changes, not just in a clinical way, not just in a I went to school and get a degree way, but in a dirt under the fingernails way. And the two have to be working together. But our society doesn't allow that because, again, the culture, status and nepotism and you have to be, who are you to tell me that? I'm not listening to he. You understand?
Tennerz.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's start with the man in the mirror.
Nice.
And but we have beards, and I like how you describe you was this silver and I'm a jet black.
Like a diet?
No, for this little man in the mirror exercise, it'd be some short responses.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, at what age did you get into this life of crime?
Fully, about 19.
Good. So right now, Tennerz, I am 19. And you are talking to young Tennerz right now. So I am Quincy Joseph before you right now at 19. Talk to me. From your realization of the things that Quincy Joseph, who is now, I would say, look like a strong 30, you know, but I know the age higher than that.
Hey, how much?
30. You're looking 30, man. Skin nice.
But if I was in Tobago, we going for drinks after I buy you drink all night. 30, you say, no?
Yeah. But
when I pass 45, and I will leave it like that, right closer to 50. I'm 48. Go ahead.
So 45 Tennerz is talking to young Tennerz now. How are you going to encourage me that move you're about to make right now is going to cost you? You're going to get an instant gratification now, but the tax that you're going to pay is going to cost you. And I'm the Tennerz who's young, and I want what I see. Now, you forget who else listening, it's just you and I now. Silver Fox Tennerz and Jet Black Tennerz. Talk to me.
You have anything to give me, Silver Fox Tennerz, besides talk? So then what you telling me about it? And that is what it is.
But
I tell you, they want the 19-year-old, even if I was to tell, there's nothing I could tell him unless I have something to give him. Something substantial to give 19-year-old Tennerz, because when I finish talk to 19-year-old Tennerz, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday come, the realities has confronted him again, and that talk has eroded. Because you didn't call me to give me a job. You didn't call me to, you see, the difference with the Jamaican, he didn't just talk.
Mm.
He stayed on me and he would have given me things.
Well, this is what I thought Silver Fox Tennerz was about to do.
Give you things?
The only thing I want from you is time. Because I do realize that besides the money and everything we want, one of the things that the criminals or the past criminals do require is time. Even when they're in the prison cell and everything, all they want is time back or time for somebody to give them the attention. So Silver Fox Tennerz, what I really wanted from you is time. Instead of me going to make that wrong decision, carry me and play football.
What? Brother, that is not realistic. Because again, here what I'm saying again.
Right.
The 19-year-old Tennerz, after we play football, I still have to go back to my life with my constitution. I'm at 19.
And
I cannot. Now, okay, let me sum it up to you like this. The gang leader,
yes.
He had to spend time with the youth man, you know. He put him in a position to get things. He might talk to that gang leader once. That gang leader might pick him up. Hey, boy, what are you doing? What are you doing here, boy? Me and my mother now fall out. She have no money. All that. All 100. All right. Here, what you going to do? Tomorrow, you go and check that. You know, Sam will just be on the corner there. I just see that one of my guys. You go and see him. He might never talk to the gang leader again. He can't really talk to the boss. But you know what the boss put him in? A position to get things. Not just the talk, not just the narrative, not just the programs. You see the programs, and I will tip my hat and I will call his name to the Honorable Minister Foster Cummins. And I will tip my hat to his ministry because he is giving the youths a lot of seeds. But when they finish with the programs and the ceilings and they have to go out into the field, into society and face corruption, crime, nepotism, right? The Jamaican gave me a book, you know, but he gave me more than just a book. He didn't just give me a book and turn it back. He gave me things with that. So we would talk, I would eat, we would. So it wasn't just talk. They use them fed up at talk. I'm telling you, the 19-year-old Tennerz and the 19-year-old now is not the same 19-year-old. They fed up at talk. They don't have the patience. They don't have the respect for the adults because they see the adults talking one thing and then doing something else. Let me sum it up to you like this. There will be a parent telling a child, when you go to school, and we have to sit in front and pay attention and don't be talking to them. And that parent now will go to work and be the least productive person on the job. Everything they're trying to tell their child to do for success, they're not doing on the work. They're looking to dock, they're looking to see the least amount of production they could give for they're only watching the clock for 4 o'clock. And in dealing with that child would sense that energy from that parent. They don't have to be on your work, they will sense your energy. And children nowadays, they have less tolerance. We wanted American children, well, we have American children now. From the cable, from the internet, from the restrictions we put on teachers in school to discipline. You see, that school discipline was one of the pillars that kept our nation at bay. I have an aunt in Tobago, Merle Joseph. I am sure plenty of people in Tobago know. And even as a big woman, when she walked the road, the kind of respect she does get. I think she was a principal in Scarborough. You see that school removing prayer from school, and not just prayer, but that discipline, and where teachers are no longer able to discipline in that. And I'm not talking about beating, I'm talking about command that respect. Where are young people most of the day, brother? In school, brother boy. And that was where Dr. Eric Williams said it. The future of our nation is in our children's books bag. He wasn't just talking about the book bag, but the whole concept of school, the whole environment of school. So talking to a 19-year-old Tennerz and kind of into football, and no. We have to find a way to make good seem as appealing and profitable as the drug dealers and the criminals make bad seem appealing and profitable.
All right. telling the man in the mirror here. So I didn't listen to Silver Fox Tennerz, and then I led to a life of crime. What taxes now would you advise me I have to pay as a criminal? I mean, I'm talking about taxes, no health surcharge and everything. You're talking about the
No,
tax.
no. Well, yeah, your health might be in risk too, because when you go to jail now, if you ain't strong, you could get victimized in many ways, right? Again, for me, I remember my mother, she happened to be in the US when I got locked up. And I remember she coming from New York to, Maryland, and seeing her in the court, seeing the stress on her face. I lost my dad when I was in prison. Couldn't go to the funeral. Even to this day, I wish he could see what I'm doing now. And I try to believe, like people say, oh, he in heaven looking down. I don't know. So the taxes is something that money cannot buy. You see, that time, you see life moving forward without you. My daughter was 1 month when the feds came for me. So I wasn't able to drop my daughter to school, and she suffered too. I used to think about Parents' Day, what she thinking when her father for 11 years, 12 years, 13 years, no show. So you see the taxes, you see money, you could get back money, And now you see the drug dealers and live so they go in the club and they rain in dollars because they know they're going to make back that in the morning easy. But you see that time, you see that separation, you see that loss of freedom, you see that isolation, you see that 24/7 somebody else telling you what to do, how to do it, how much minutes you could talk to your family for. I had 300 phone minutes for the month. That is nothing. Because you want to talk to mommy, auntie, cousin, your partner, your girl, your love, right? They're telling you when to go to sleep, when to wake up. Then you know what you're eating today, what you're not eating, unless you have money and you could buy your own thing, unless you have that support. And I could tell every youth, the worst day I've spent out as a free man is still better than the best day I've ever spent in prison. And I've had some good days in the people prison because God has always blessed me to make a way. Right? The worst day, and I'll say it again for the benefit of any young person listening to me right now, or any person want to quote this for a young person, tell them Tennerz say, right, with 104 years and it was reduced to 33 and I did 11, that the worst day out here in society, even right now with my current personal problems, is still better than the best day in prison. And it goes back to the individual's ability to withstand pressure. We need that spiritual and mental. So last year I said that progress must both be moral and physical. And in today's society, let's look at even not just the music, but the shift in narrative. I see how your little twists and stuff like that looking neat. Long time our goal was to be Muslim. I had real youth from South Point and thing go and join the Muslim, and you still had a religious ambition towards your thing, whether it's to join the Muslim or you're listening in Cape Town and you're learning about other Psalms. In today's society, is all about the money. So we cannot be pretensive and act like we don't understand. But are we willing to go back to not being so modern? Are we willing to lose some of that taste for champagne to save our children? Are we willing to sacrifice and put back certain things in place that might reduce that taste of champagne in society to save our children? You understand what I'm saying? I don't know if...
Yeah.
You understand?
But you're talking, and you know what coming to my mind? Maybe we should change the taste of champagne for the taste of sorrow, because I believe, just like you said earlier, is the culture that we need to readapt. The new culture is champagne is the only taste I require. But for me, Sorrel speaks to family for me, boy. And you know when you come
And that's your
from
and
a family reunion,
that's your constitution.
yes, and that's my constitution.
So what can you do now to encourage your peers to see the value in sorrel? It's hard, boy, because sometimes when you get that taste, and I'm speaking to you real, I'm not speaking theory here. And I will bring it to Tobago now. I've been coming to Tobago since I was a little boy. On my dad's side, his mother and father were both Tobagos. Big up the Braffis and the Roberts and, you know, all of them Doncaster and Buku, Blondie, pop stores. When all you go to Buku, check pop stores. And you see these little things why I do just picking up pop stores, all these things help reduce crime, right? Supporting your people can help reduce crime. The little things can help reduce crime. But I used to come to Tobago as a youth. And I've seen the change in Tobago's focus. Meaning that Tobago has gotten, and this is not an indictment, and this is not saying that we're not supposed to. Tobago has gotten more modern. Tobago has gotten the taste, the younger generation now, because again of the social media, the influence, they gravitate towards that first world city life. And sometimes with that now, you will have to let go of certain things to pick up certain things. So therefore you see, you know, people saying it's just the gang thing. Right? The gang could only flourish when you have fertile soil. So we need to check the soil. You know, I used to hear, oh, is Trini coming up to Tobago to do crime? Yes. But a Trini cannot come up to Tobago unless a Tobagonian house him. Most times he coming up to Tobago, whether it's his cousin, his brethren. And this is happening before we know about 6, 7, 9 and all these things. So it shows that Tobago always had, like everywhere else, the capacity and potential for extreme criminal behavior. But because we were not real, and I say we because I am Trinidadian and Tobagonian, nobody can take that from me, like I say my father, Tobago, right? We, just like in households, and I bring it back to the household. Miss John, you know your son come to school today, and he, not my son, it's the neighbor's son will carry him. And that is what Tobagonians would have done for a long time. We were sticking our head in the sand and just saying, it's them Chinese. But them Chinese coming up and somebody in Tobago had to give them a gun. Unless you say the port just pour us, right? And we're not going to go there. I'm going to assume that the port is safe and nobody could smuggle guns from Trinidad to Tobago all willy-nilly to impact the situation like that. And this were along the lines of the conversations that we and I first started happening, where I was pointing out to him and me doing the work that I'm doing in Tobago. Some of us, which I cannot speak of because of confidentiality and whatnot, but I've been privy to talk to the young people in Tobago, and I've been able to realize these youth men different. Them not studying to go mend the net. I'm not saying that they are not youths who still hold on to the traditions, but they want the Jordans and the gold. They want to live. They want nice life, and anybody exposed. I'm eating drinking sugar water every day, and you give me some Pepsi. Ooh.
Go on. But Quincy, we have some questions from the people on the Facebook and everything.
Yes, bring them.
We're getting close to wrapping up. So if you could just crunch everything quickly. So one of the questions were you looking for respect by acquiring your things? Is this what the youth are really chasing? And are they promised this? So
everybody's looking for respect. The mother, the teacher, yeah. And again, because of the wrong concept of manhood, which is heightened even in today's society. That is how I thought I would got respect. And that's how I got respect. It did work. I got respect.
But you pay tax. Yeah,
pay that tax. And that tax, again, it come like working overtime. When you think you will work overtime and get through. You know, you're putting some extra.
Like, this is working overtime with no extra pay.
But no, when the tax man come now, and you go over that 40 hours, and that tax man take that tax, and you watch what you really bring home, you realize better to stay within your lane. So I would ask the youth them to stay within your lane. And I would ask people who are listening out there to involve me in programs and situations where I can reinforce and not just come here tonight and talk and pat myself on the back and feel like right.
I was so glad you said that, because one of the questions was, in your conversation with young people, what often gets them to change their ways and stay away from crime? Within your conversation, that is. What's that thing you notice is a pivotal point that, you know, does make them say, hey, you know, Quincy was really making sense there?
When they see the results of the work, when they start to get things, and again, that thing doesn't have to be monetary.
Opportunity.
But opportunity that transition or result in something tangible that can make them feel. Remember, just how we have the fingerprint and we have our DNA, we have our constitution. So whatever it is that could fill that void, remember the drug dealer, the gang leader, he's filling a void. That void may be a feeling of weakness, fear, insecurity. So we have to treat crime on an individual basis, because crime is an individual decision. It might sound tough. Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're going good. So your key word tonight is constitution, and a constitution of your own, self-constitution. Let's call it self-constitution, right?
Yes.
If every young man was to come and write his self-constitution on a brick, a tablet, how do we go about resolving or getting them to resolve in their own constitutions? Because
we have to get society to work for them, because we cannot babysit them. We cannot, let's be real, let's be realistic and practical. How many hours you can sit down and just talk to somebody? We have to make sure that society, and again, society/culture. The culture determines a lot of times what people stand for or don't stand for. So the institutions that are there, I said it again, it is simple as giving credit and giving space to grassroots individuals. Because remember, community work started on a grassroots level. There was a man in my community by the name of Mikey. He didn't have no set of grassroots, no corporate support. He dealt with football. And when you play with Mikey, all the other teams know the game might start at 10. It could be 2-3. They come in because they know Mikey is committed. And we see in Mikey's commitment to us. We see that Mikey really cares. He's not doing this for money, so we cannot disappoint him. You know, Mikey gave of himself. And that made us not want to disappoint Mikey. Just like when I realized the Jamaican was giving of himself, it made me kind of sort of not want to disappoint him. So
do you think the ages between the ages of 30 and 50, do you think enough men, just enough of society is giving of themselves?
Between the ages of 30
and 50, which we consider the experienced age, because the life at 20 is your prime years and you try everything under the sun sometimes. But do you think that the people at the ages of 30 and 50 are being like the Jamaican in your story? Are they giving enough of themselves to commit to the change? In your humblest opinion?
You see, I cannot realistically answer, because I don't know what everybody is doing. I can speak to the institutions and to the people that claim to be doing. And one of the things I would like to see more of, especially and I'm speaking clearly in the Black communities, is the Black leaders like myself who have the knowledge and the consciousness to start to talk less and give more where the youth could see. Let them see you go and you try to talk to them about the policies and the law. The things that really affect society. Policies and laws govern. There are policies and laws for a reason. So, yes, I could sit down here and talk about business and Black consciousness and all this. But am I going to get up in the morning and go down to our office or go down to an institution that deals with these matters and is supposed to make sure that these things are available for the young people who want it. In my community, they like to say, "Youth don't want work." I could tell them they're lying because my phone is ring regular for youths wanting work. For every one youth that they want to use as an excuse to say they don't want to work there, I could show you 2 youths who call me for work. So as the elders, when we present ourselves, like I present myself as a youth advocate, as a community builder, I must now be willing to challenge the status quo. I must now be willing, and a lot of us not willing, you know why? Because our organizations depend on finance from these same people that are part of the problem.
Let me particularly mental a little bit with that question that came from Facebook. And they call it by your first name, Quincy.
Well, maybe they watch my shirt.
How could the school system offer more help to teen boys in helping them to achieve? Like studies show that boys mature later in areas of attention span, language, and that at age of 16. Most boys are more ready to settle down and achieve, in later areas of attention span and language and at the age of 16. Most boys are ready to settle down and achieve. Yet your Caribbean system ends at Form 5, when most teens are 16 years old. I think what she really saying is, how could we go beyond the education of the school system above other than Form 5? Because at 17, what she's saying is the basic young boy is not ready to settle down and settle into the things of life. He's not ready for opportunity. How could we change that? And to me, she really asking outside of the school system, because the school could only do so much. What culture should we have that we could now grasp these young boys who probably didn't like the maths or the English, who want, you know, they always say, just send them to a trade school, but not everybody like trade. And then everybody is, let me learn the theory and then let me learn the physical. Some people is, I can use the barber shop. Let them sit down in the barber shop for a month. And Denzel Washington say this. If you sit down in a barber shop long enough, you're going to learn to cut hair. So what cultures are we developing that these young boys could now stay in these spaces that they learn? And it goes back to what you were saying before. The people who sit down in the office now have to dedicate their time to creating cultures. We understand you're 8 to 4, and we understand that manhood is important and you're trying to become your own man. But being part of society is also being part of becoming a man. So what should men, and let me not say men, what should people do outside of the 8 to 4, outside of after 4 and 5, to create the culture that these men could settle in 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 going up the road, that they start settling themselves and seeking career in different things and not have to go through a hard time before they settle?
You see, the culture is the solution, but the culture is the problem. You understand that, right?
Yes.
And you see, because of, again, capitalism, we cannot ignore the elephant in the room. A lot of our problem is because of capitalism. A lot of nation problem is because of capitalism. And there are people that benefit from the chaos, right? Yeah. No, there are people that we come to speak the truth and educate the people, right? There are people that benefit from the chaos, and a lot of these people that benefit are the same ones who decide on the policies, right? And these people are not gonna willfully hurt their business. The slave master is not just gonna wake up one morning, yeah, I feel good today, I go just let go the slaves. No, we have to take it. And when I say take it, I don't mean force and violence. Again, it goes back to accountability and the people, the common man, not being afraid to ask their representative and leaders a question. And the leaders being able to accept constructive criticism. So you see, for all that to work, you need to move the barriers. It come like you have a clink in your hose. You tie your hose. But you don't want to study the nut, because the person who put the nut there, if you go and tie the nut, you might offend that person. So you're telling the person on the end of the water, try to turn on more pressure. Try to turn on more pressure, because it's easier to deal with the person there than to deal with the person responsible for the nut, because that might come with consequences. You might lose your position. You might be seen as you're bashing a PNM or a UNC. I don't think I need to tell Trinidad and Tobago what the solution is. We just have to find the belly to do it. But like MX Prime said, we jamming still. This is our culture. The fight that need to be fought, I am not sure if as a culture and as a people, we ready for that fight, that I'm speaking honestly. Let history reflect itself. I'm speaking honestly. How many people in Plymouth, how many people in Larry, how many people, yeah, you might have an MP, he nice, he don't mean no harm, but he ain't really producing. You're going and tell them that, you're going and tell and I will say PNM because the PNM in power right now, you're going and tell the PNM chair and think, you don't want that MP they send in your area. No, you're not going and tell them that. You're going to just suck it and hope for the best. And that is what they use them. What took me at the age of 30-something to realize, they use them realizing at a younger age. And again, it goes back to the school. Dr. Eric Williams, rest in peace, to the first Prime Minister, said it all as simple as it may seem. The future. So what's what happened to the nation? Because we didn't protect the children's school bag. We did not protect it. And now we want to blame the children, which is the fruit of the problem, like they are the root of the problem. A lot of us, Mr. Piggott and all of them, good night, sir. A lot of us in our era, if we had camera phones back then to record our behavior.
I have one more for you. Do you think that our education system should assist youth to discover their purpose in life? I mean, in my time, we had a YC for youth at the crossroads. I don't know what they call it now. We had some social programs, but how or what? I know you ain't like the word programs.
No, you can use program. I understand it.
But in school, what topic? You know, one person once said we need to discuss emotional intelligence more in school. What's your take on that?
You see, again, you are looking at specifics, right? The specifics wouldn't work unless the foundation is there. All that what you're talking about is the furniture and the bricks and all of that. The foundation is the consciousness of the educational system, the consciousness of the teachers, the awareness, the passion.
How do we bring back the consciousness?
We have to fire some people in the positions that not getting the job done. That is what it is. Let me bring it back to the home. Use the man. Your wife really like you, but you ain't doing what you're supposed to, and she putting up with it. It will take a strong woman to stay faithful, right? It will take a next strong woman to just leave you before she horn you. But a lot of times you will get horn, shadow sing it. You're looking for horn. If you're not doing certain things, you're looking for horn. But you see, because of the people that causing, or I don't want to use the word cause, because of the people that are managing these entities that are not functioning how they are supposed to for this time and age. Because we don't want to call them out because it may be seen as a political attack or a personal attack. We will just hope for the best. So what you're speaking about the programs, and I could come with whatever program, I could come with whatever. People have to implement these things. And if the people lack passion, and if the people lack substance, and if the people just doing it because I'm a work, children pick up on that. The youth are intuitive, they pick up on that. So therefore, they are not, you going through the motion, we going through the motion too. It's our food we hear. But sorry, go ahead.
No, I could see your passion. In wrapping up, so today's topic was about crime and taxation. So just in the next 5 minutes, passionately as you always do, just reminding people of the fact that crime pays today, but the tax is higher.
I had a partner now come out from doing 28 years. He's my age. He got locked up about 7 months before me. He's home right now like an alien in his own country. Lost his mom. He had to try to catch back. He had to try to reintegrate. 28 years. And like they say, trouble come on horse, but leave on camel. I mean, leave on snail. So they say trouble come on horseback, but leave on a snail. So what might take you 2 seconds to get in could take you 28 years, or in my case, 11 years to get out. And Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, the globe now with the internet. You see, when the sons of God came, the sons of Satan came with them. So just how the internet bring devilish things, it bring also good things. And the youth nowadays have an opportunity to access the global market. So even if Trinidad and Tobago is too small for what I would ask, and I know I could only ask a youth, because I remember what it was like to be a youth. You ain't really listening too much. Remember the words of that person that you think genuinely care about. You're not just going to say your mother, your father, your brother. Find something bigger than yourself. Then look at all the gang leaders and the bangers before you. I know some youth men out here playing tough and they lost a homie and they just go by the homie grave and ball down the place. And then come back out and pest people. Psychologically and mentally, we are very traumatized. So, talking, you asked me to talk. And you will find us struggling with words because I really believe that talking alone doesn't do it. Me sending a message to our youth right now, each child mother still going to nag him tomorrow for milk and pampers, and he would have dropped out of school. So I could say, yeah, well, it's good for he should have stayed in school, but now is now. What are we going to do now? What are we going to tell him now? Right? So for the people who are close to the people who can make the changes, the people who working in the THA and the people who working in the parliament and the people who working in the MP office and the people who working in license office and the people who working in the grant office, when you see that woman then get the grant because you double back and you give your sister or your cousin or you run some racket. These are the things that first need to stop. I can't talk people into stopping that. So it doesn't make sense in really me talking to the youths. That's why I want the nation to understand. Stop trying to focus like talking to the youths alone and change it. And let we deal with the adults who are responsible. Let we educate ourselves on how to address, okay, what is the MP really responsible for? So instead of trying to fix our youth, fix yourself. Go and educate yourself. What is my MP roles and function? And let me make sure he's doing that. Let me take away the excuses and I will go back to the flame. Crime is like a flame. Now, if I light a flame and I limit the gas around the flame is not as catastrophic, right? But that same flame, if I don't control the gas, the more gas, the more destructive the flame, right? The government's role is not about the flame, you know. It's about controlling the gas around that flame. It's about controlling the environment. It's about controlling the field. Just like when people go into school now, I saw an article the other day about people with degrees who have to accept jobs that they're underqualified for. You see, you might have the constitution where you accepting that. And next week, man, saying, boy, forget that. I went to school to be a lawyer, to make this thing. I can't, they put me in some grocery. But I'm going to sell cocaine. Then waste my time because I had a school thing to pay for. Again, it goes back to your constitution. And we have to find a way to generalize the constitution of spirituality once again in society, mental wellness once again in society, emotional intelligence, especially for us men back in society, right? Because all these things we do with planting and these things are good, you know. Masonry, these things are good, you know. But we need to get back to the core of mankind, the core of liberty. We need to put back some of them old landmarks. The Bible says, don't remove the old landmark. So we could come here tonight and night after night and talk all the fancy talk.
We need about the old landmarks.
We need people like myself, the people like Dr. Mohammed and all the others who will be on this program. When we finish talk, to find yourself in front of an agency or a politician or create a body that is about action. Not just narrative and sensitizing and educating people and showing how much people. I could come here and talk about African history and Egypt and the impact of colonialism on the society. It does have an impact. I could come and talk about all of that here tonight. But I want to keep it so simple. Let us play our position. Let us take our eyes off the youths and what they're doing. And as adults, ask yourself what you're really doing. Not what you feel you're doing. Not because you stop and talk to a youth. Yeah, I do so much. So much what? Did you go to where it matters? And where it matters is the legislation. You see, in our community, we don't think that far. Because we don't feel we can have that power. We just want to tell our youth, talk to our youth. Go to school, stay in school. Did you write a letter to the Minister of Education expressing yourself? Did you go to see your MP to tell him you don't like what's really going on here? Not because you vote PNN, that don't mean you can't. Not because you vote UNC, that don't mean you. We need to do more and stop talking. Them use them fed up how we talk. I telling you tonight, under No Youth Left Behind, Quincy, the youths, them fed up of the talk. And what happened with the youth today, they are good at giving us an impression and an image of what they think we want. They're good at letting us leave them alone without telling us leave them alone. So we need to do less talk.
And more action.
And more action. We need to do the right action. We need to target the right people, the right facilities, have the right conversations with the right people. We need to stop the begging spirit. We have a begging spirit. We have a spirit where we're just waiting for them to fix everything for we turn. No. We need to get some Sojourner Truth in us. We need to get some Harriet Tubman in us. We need to get some Rosa Parks in us. And notice I call 3 women because, again, a society cannot raise no higher than the consciousness of its woman. And this is not to say that the women have the place like this. No. You are the healers. Yes, the men have failed. Yes, your child father failed. Yes, your husband failed. What are you going to do now? And even if your husband not around, are you going to allow your the child's uncle? Are you going to allow your brother to come in and play that role in your life? A lot of times we still, as I said earlier, we still shield. Women shield for their sons and enable their sons, and fathers shield for their daughters. We need to stop some of that shielding.
Take more action.
Take more action. We could have all these symposiums, which is necessary. I'm not knocking it. But we need to pick up ourselves and go down by the office them. We need to pick up ourselves and ask for a meeting with the Prime Minister and ask the Prime Minister to come to the community. Write a letter to your MP and ask him, we want to sit down with you, but we're cooking some fish broth. Come down, you're afraid to come and sit down amongst we? Bring 2 police with you. And then we sit down and talk. Let me tell you what's going on with my children and see what you could do in your capacity as minister. The definition of a minister is a servant. Not somebody who's just supposed to get pips and in society, you don't have to pay for this, you're driving your Prado, you know, the whole society just moves for you like the Red Sea. A minister is a servant unto the people. And these ministers, and I'm saying it bold and plain, these ministers, they need to change their focus and their psyche. They need to change how they see their constituents. And I think we might be coming to the end, so I will say what I experienced and tell you what I mean by that. My team won an award, a real prestigious award. I'm not going to say which one because, again, I don't want to target anybody yet because I'm dealing with some personal things, I tell you. If it was for the spirituality, anyway. So we won the award, and this the leader is congratulated. And I have a situation I'm dealing with. So I went to him and I said, hey, you know, with all this, you know, we win this, and tonight I'm going home to this. And I was explaining to him, you know, I haven't gone to the media yet, I haven't gone to Facebook yet. And he stops me. His arrogance kicked in. Because who is me to talk to him like this? And this is not just for ministers or for this is part of our culture of for when you make it. It's like if you have on a rubber slippers, you can't talk to me in a Jordans. Right? And in speaking to him, he stopped me. Say, I'm tell you something, you're going bad already. We don't care about Facebook, we don't care about them things. I watch this man. And I wanted to tell him, boy, how you're thinking, right? And we be speaking plain. Because this is my thing. And this will identify what I'm speaking about, the fabric of our leaders that sometimes pushes the minorities to do things. I'm looking at it like I am a deportee in a crime land, in a murdering nation that has done this great feat with my team. And here I am being rewarded and celebrated. And when I come to you now with a personal, real matter, instead of, even if you didn't like how I had spoken to you, you have to have the understanding that this is a deportee who might be rough around the edges. And you know, my ego, let me step back my ego and listen to my constituent, listen to the member of society that I have the job to serve. Instead of trying to check me and let me know I can't talk to you so. Now, mine I wasn't loud or aggressive enough, but they just didn't like the fact that it seemed like I was threatening to go public on Facebook. So you had to let me know, like use the Dan in space side. You had to let me know, hey, pardon. And you see, that is what the youths them can't deal with. That is what a lot of people cannot deal with, because instead of looking at the bigger picture, instead of seeing it as an opportunity, they have a deportee in a crime land that has a youth group that has just won this national award. Is telling you that when he finishes, this is what he's going to. And instead of dealing with that, you had to understand the arrogance, understand the out of touch, understand that you cannot see, it come like you leave $100 bill to go and pick up a dollar bill. And if I wasn't where I'm at in today's society with myself, that interaction could have made me say, boy, F everything. Because what I dealing with is it requires a certain financial something to solve, which is no fault of mine. And I don't want to, because it is currently seemingly being addressed after 2 years. Right? So we know that our society has a lot of cracks. All society have cracks. But when you have people in position who don't care to fix the cracks or care to take help to fix the cracks, we need to get rid of them. And we have no consequences in our society for those that are supposed to be our leaders. Without consequences, you cannot gain people respect and you cannot keep control.
That's definitely our call for action. No, Quincy, that was a lot of mind-changing stuff, a lot of food for thought, a lot of passion, and we do respect what you do for our community and what you do for our boys by extension, you know. And Tobago CivilNet, Eastern Credit Union, and by extension the entire Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago, we are very happy for what you always contribute. And we are thankful for you turning up here this evening, man. I mean, you are the beginning. You are the start of this part series, and we want to thank you for that. We want to extend applause. I know everybody can applaud, so I extend my applause to you. You know, brothers, always brothers, not by blood, but by our own mission and our own constitution. So I want to invite Zav to wrap us up there.
Zavi, right?
Hi, good night again, everyone. Quincy, Cassell, thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for giving up your time and sharing with us tonight. From your heart, from your soul. Real. Quincy, like Cassell, as you were saying, we started this conversation months ago down at Solar Organics. And the situation was a far cry from where it is now. The violent crime hadn't taken the turn that he was telling me that he was seeing brewing yet. But I was also having the conversations with Rodney, and I'll say within maybe about 3 months' time, that shift started to take place, or at least manifest. What was already happening in the soil started to burst through. So I just want to say thanks again for having the conversation, sharing with us this evening. Just something key really stood out to me, if I may just mention, is the importance of the individual who is looking at the youth as a problem, or the leadership position of the minister or the representative, to not forget to develop his own consciousness and willingness to change himself. And I think you all did a real great job, apart from all the significant topics that stood out, including the cost of actually being involved in criminal activity, the hidden aspects of it that Quincy was able to touch on, the fact that the children, everybody wants money, everybody looking for support at the end of the day. Everybody, you cannot lie to them anymore and say, well, crime doesn't pay, as Quincy was mentioning. All these things are significant. But what stood out to me more than anything else was just remembering that we need to, while we look and blame and complain, turn the camera, turn the mirror, turn the focus inward and do the self-development. Tobago CivilNet is very, very happy to be able to support this conversation, this ongoing conversation, which started tonight. This is the first of our 4-part series, and it continues next week, Tuesday, at the same time, where we will have Dr. David Mohammed, sociologist and founder of the Black Agenda Project, as well as founder of the Kwame Ture Learning Center. And his topic will be the untold truth about society's failure to develop our youth. I think that will be a great follow-up from the conversation between Tennerz and Cassell this evening. That is going to be on the 19th of November, same time, and you could tap in with us right here at Tobago CivilNet. You could also check our page where you will see the sign-in link if you want to join us in the actual Zoom room. You could also check our website at tobagocivilnet.com. Following next week, Tuesday's session with Dr. David Mohammed, we will have the third session on the 26th of November with Camille Swap, who is a child and adolescent development psychologist, on the topic of joyful learning as an antidote to failing. And I love that topic because it speaks to the inner work. It speaks to the development of a different kind of perspective on how we help our children to come to a sense of their own identity and evolve in a way that is fun. And I love that idea. So I'm very much looking forward to having that conversation with Camille on the 26th. And we will finally close our 4-part series, at least this iteration of it, with Dr. Ulrich Johnson, who is a community organizer and founder and director of transformative counseling, coaching, and consultation. He also is a specialist on crime and criminality, a public health approach of dealing with it, because it is a public hazard, not just to the individuals directly involved, but to the wider community. And that would be on the 3rd of December, same time, 6 p.m. on Tobago CivilNet. It will be streaming live on our Facebook page, as well as if you want, you could tune in via Zoom, and the link will also be available on our Facebook page. So I encourage you to go to the page at Tobago CivilNet, make sure and like it and follow, and look out for those links and flyers in the coming weeks so that you could join us for the whole series and take in all that we have to share and share with us what you feel and experience and your challenges as well. And then we build a conversation to create a more wholesome, balanced, safe, productive, secure, proud Tobago. I thank you again for your time. My name is Xavier Edwards, PRO of Tobago CivilNet, an organization that is happy to serve you. You all have a blessed night. Take care.
I am starting a new relationship with money today. Money is good, pure, useful, and necessary for my prosperity and growth, for my satisfaction and abundance.
You think the money won't change you? I know you think the woman won't faze you. You think the nightlife won't age you.
So you're straight from the way your mama raised you.
So much love that she gave, even if you would misbehave. But now you left your home and depart from your ways, and you're singing life favors a brave. You not deal with cowardice, and you not like to feel powerless, and you want to know where real power is. So you live a life at speed, power shift. Money in your pocket make you feel like a lord. Woman in your bed make you feel like a god. Killers on your team and they're down for the cause, ready to take a life for the boss. Everything have a cost. Price for the woman, the fame, the cars, the drugs, the Porsche, Ferrari Sport, switchblade doors, butterfly flew wings up, of course, like a falcon in full flight when it soars. Always a sight to see, I'm sure. Remember what goes up must come back to the floor. There's a reason for the darkness, reason for the light. Reason for the things I see when I close my eyes at night. Reason for the lies, reason for the pain. Reason though I'm free, I feel the need to keep my chains. See, I keep them all and I bought some more. Switch out the Galado for the Aventador. Lion heart, you should hear that roar. See my wings spread out when I press the door. See, I kept the chains, but I found the keys. No locks on me, yes, I am free. And you could be too, if you just be you. Cause see, there's truth in the lies, though they try to hide that the real power lies inside you and I. Infinite waters when we scuba dive, and we diving deep, coming super high. Self-awareness for a smoother ride. I know that I am a cooler guy, so when the moon arise and the moolah rise, grounded while we cruising through the sky. There's a reason for the darkness, reason for the light, reason for the things I see when I close my eyes at night. Reason for the lies, reason for the pain. Reason though I'm free, it's okay if I keep my chain.